Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's Saturday, although every day of the week starts to seem the same these days. Um, but it is Saturday, in case you're wondering what day of the week it is. I do want to share a few additional tips today about what you can do at this time. Number one, okay, in terms of immunity and health, is sleep. Okay, make sure you're getting enough sleep. You're not staying up late binge watching Netflix or arguing with someone on YouTube on Facebook. Those things can be kind of stressful, which is the second thing that you want to do for your health is your mental health. Try not to spend too much time on social media. If you do, stick with the inspiring stuff, things that really nourish your heart, connecting with friends, connecting with family, things like that. That's really important because we're all staying at home and it can feel a little bit lonely, a little depressing. Hopefully most of you have a window or a backyard that you can go out and get some sunlight. But definitely try to walk if it's safe, walk around, get some fresh air. It is actually fresh air these days in LA because people aren't driving as much. The air quality is actually getting better. So yeah, those are some simple things to begin with: sleep, stress, and then I'm going to give you a glimpse of what I have in my medicine cabinet. Let's see. So first thing here, it's soap. I think we all have some hand soap. So number one is really simple. Everyone can get soap. Wash your hands. 20 seconds. Sing the happy birthday song. So all this is very basic, but also very important. And wash your hands as often as you can, especially if you're going out. When you come back, wash your hands. When you're in doubt, if your hands are clean, wash your hands. And especially when you're outside, don't touch your face because we do that a lot. So you really have to practice not touching your face. Going through Chinese medicine, and we have to do this because we don't want to get ourselves sick. So that's a really important thing, is when you touch your mouth, when you touch your nose, the virus gets over here, and then that's how it can enter your system. There's no recommended scents or flavors. My wife got this particular one for me. It's pumpkin scent. So now you know a little secret about me. I have a weakness for pumpkins. So I love pumpkin pie, and in the fall when they have that pumpkin spice stuff, I always get one. So, we all got our little vices, but so that's why she got me this soap. This one seems to be very popular. It's not a particular herb in Chinese medicine, but toilet paper is important. But if you don't have toilet paper, people are concerned about running out. If there's bidets, that's actually much more environmentally sound. I know it's something that's really weird to have. I don't see them very much in the US, but they're quite common if you travel to Europe and in parts of Asia as well. So that's something to consider if you are concerned that toilet paper might be running out, or if you just want to be more environmental and not use as much paper, because it's actually a lot more clean than wiping your butt with dry paper. Okay, so some things that you can get at the store. Manuka honey. Okay, so most honeys are really good for your immune system. Okay, but Manuka honey especially is really good. The Manuka flower has a lot of antiviral, antimicrobial properties. And this is one you can actually get, this particular brand, at Trader Joe's. And it's actually a lot cheaper. If you go to Whole Foods, it's going to be really expensive. Manuka honey's particularly more expensive. You get normal honey, it may be a few dollars, but I think this one is, $12 or so. And it's not a huge bottle. So you don't want to use this just to put on your toast or put in your oatmeal. This is something more medicinal. So I keep this when I start to feel like a tickle in my throat. I feel a little bit under the weather. I take this out and take about a teaspoon twice a day, just to help top off my immunity. And again, like Trader Joe's is I find the most affordable option. And there's a lot of different certifications out there. UMF is the one that I recommend. That's the one that's from New Zealand, and that's the one that certifies the quality at a certain standard. So they have different numbers, starting at like 5. Those are kind of weaker. So anything like 10 plus, I recommend. It goes all the way up to 20 plus. This is UMF stands for the unique Manuka factor, and that gives you an idea of how much of that antimicrobial, antiviral property is within the honey. And honey has been shown not only for strengthening immunity, but also to help shorten things like colds and flus. And what we're dealing with is a variant of the cold. The common cold is a variant of that, obviously much more severe, much more virulent, contagious than the common cold. So, but the early stages, we approach it the same way. Try to prevent from getting sick, strengthen your immune system. So, if you're well right now, that's great. Do things to continue to top off your immune system. And if you're starting to feel a little bit ticked, a little under the weather, you can still do a lot of the similar things initially to help try to kick it out by strengthening your immune system, reinforcing things. Okay, so there's that. This is very common. And I checked a few days ago, and they still have it at Trader Joe's. People haven't made a run for it yet. People are still making a run for toilet paper. So take your opportunity now before everyone realizes Manuka honey can help. This is another one. I'm sure most of you have heard of airborne. I have some reservations about it, but it is a mainstream version of, there's Chinese herbs in here. So they've kind of mainstreamed Chinese herbal formulas. And this is a modification of that. And they tack on like vitamin C in here. And vitamin C is really good for the immune system. In terms of, it hasn't really proven to be as good for prevention as much as it is to help shorten the length of your cold or flu, as well as reduce the severities. And that's another aspect you want to tackle as well. If you feel a little bit under the weather, is make sure you take something. Vitamin C, they say 200 milligrams to 400 milligrams is optimal. And depending on the form that you take, if you take too much, you're actually just going to pee it right out. So it tends to be a waste. So you don't want to take too much. And the form that is important too. So I've been using Emergency for a long time. They have other versions like Oaloa. That's also good. And they're in a form that your body takes in more readily. So these are some little shortcuts you can do to help. Zinc is another good one. Again, this is more for if you start to feel a little bit under the weather, whether it's cold or flu, because a lot of the signs are the same initially. So you really can't tell what you have. But this is the time that you want to just try to kick it out. And so there's a lot of different kinds of zinc lozenges that you can do. And again, these are more for helping to shorten any sickness that you have with the cold or flu, or to help reduce symptoms, severity of the symptoms. Okay, so those are kind of more off-the-shelf things. I also have Chinese herbs that I keep in my cabinet, things that are standard formulas. And, in China, they've gone through many cycles of epidemics, and these are recorded in Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is, 4,000 to 5,000 years old. So we've been through a lot of epidemics, and we've treated and we've tried to figure out what's been going on. So a lot of those formulas that they used in China to fight the COVID-19 is actually derived from the learnings of all these different epidemics that's happened.
Everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, so I was just talking to myself here.
Just for a little bit, just for a tiny bit.
How far back do I have to go? What was the last thing you heard from me?
You were talking about Wenbing with the Chinese medicine because China.
Okay. Oh yeah. So should we rewind a little bit? So this recent outbreak of the COVID-19, so in China, they did treat, so they do a lot of combination with Western and Eastern medicine, especially with the mild to moderate cases, basically people who don't have to be in the hospital, people who don't have to be in the ICU. What's really effective is the Chinese herbs to help people recover and help people stay away from the hospitals. So what we're finding is that, you know, a lot of these old standard formulas modified a little bit are very effective for treating those mild to moderate cases, because we treat them just like similar symptoms to you would have with flu and cold, like fevers, cough, headaches, sore throats, things like that. So, you know, based on symptoms, we have herbs that are antiviral, they're antimicrobial. So those are really helpful at this time. So this particular formula, this is called the Jade Windscreen. I use this a lot when I start to feel just a little tiny tickle. Again, like when I start to feel, so you really have to be in your body. That's really important. And that's why Qigong is really important, because you start to communicate, you start to listen to your body. And so, you know, if you're not listening to what your body's saying, it's really hard to tell what's happening. But if you start to be able to communicate and listen, your body's saying, hey, something's going on, I'm fighting something. Okay, that's actually a good thing. And that's when you can start to really get ahead of the game and try to tackle things before they get worse. So Jade Windscreen, it's a really simple formula. The key herb is actually astragalus. And that's something I think most people are now familiar with as an immunity boosting herb. It's a qi tonic in Chinese medicine, and that's the chief herb in this formula. So if you do need this, let me know. I do have a batch of this that I can send out to folks too. But if you're seeing an acupuncturist, they would have it as well. You might see it on Amazon, but I really wouldn't trust the source of Amazon, especially if it's from a third-party seller selling herbs. So definitely be careful. Obviously, different presentations call for different things. So depending on your combination of symptoms, you don't want to just take a one-size-fits-all herbal formula. But this is one that I do have readily on hand. And then I do keep some custom formulas. These are more particular to my constitution and what I need. So there's that as well. So custom formulas are modifications based on your exact presentation. So in contrary, like in Western medicine, they try to have some general approaches in terms of pharmaceuticals, but we look at it as more of an individual type of presentation. And everyone's different based on your constitution, based on what's going on in your body. So you can private message me, or you can email me if you want to just get more clarification information. Another one that I keep on hand a lot is we call it Xiaoyao San, the ease tonic. And this one is, we use because in Chinese medicine, we look at body, mind, and spirit to be one. Okay, so your body is not separate from your emotions. And I use this one a lot for stress. And, you know, obviously we have a lot of stress right now. If you do a lot of Facebooking, you probably have a lot of stress. And staying inside, getting cooped up, that's also very stressful too. So things like this, these are kind of the more basic formulas. And then, you know, you modify and you customize to, you know, these are more for like, okay, I got specific things going on. So like with the coronavirus, you know, a lot of things are similar. In the beginning, you feel a little bit like under the weather, or you feel weak, or you feel like feverish or sore throat. And then it progresses to different stages, to like having like a cough, having like feeling like there's tightness, or, you know, unable to expectorate, sputum, things like that. As you get stronger symptoms, then there's different formulas. And obviously you want to go, you know, check with the ER or the urgent care if you get really severe symptoms. But in terms of moderate stuff, they're sending a lot of people home if they don't have shortness of breath. So my wife's actually works for Kaiser, and she's actually working in the hospital right now. And they are seeing more and more cases in the ICU, people who are testing positive for COVID. But there's a lot of people a lot more people they're sending home because they're trying to keep the ICUs open for the more severe cases. So if you don't have shortness of breath, usually they just send you home and say, hey, you know, try to do what you can. And that's when, you know, something like Chinese herbs are very helpful because they can help address the symptoms as well as help strengthen your immunity and shorten the time that you're sick, and hopefully keep you out of hospital. Okay. So those are my tips for today. I hope that's very helpful for you guys. In addition to the Qigong, obviously you want to continue practicing Qigong, especially at this time. So I hope to see you guys all tomorrow, as well as the rest of next week. Thank you for coming.